welcome to the NFC Beast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Sorry for starting a little late, but we are here with the NFC East Division champs. We got Sam in the building. How you doing, Sam? Sam Shady?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Good, good, good. And we got Cool.
What up? What up? Always a pleasure to be here, gentlemen.
Nice Eagles hat. Nice throwback.
I
I like
appreciate
that.
that.
I
It's
like
a little,
that.
it's a little something special on this one too. I'm just let y'all see it real quick.
Oh,
Eagles Elite.
nice. I love it. Love it.
Yes, sir.
Nice, nice, nice. All right, so we've been doing this show for the entire season. We're now at Championship Sunday, and there's one team left, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. So, real quick, round of applause. One of our teams making it this far. Round of applause.
I love that.
They'll be going up against the San Francisco 49ers that just beat my Cowboys. If anybody was here last week, go back and watch that. It was good. It was good and bad because I was obviously pissed at how the game ended, but you got the raw emotion from me, and I'm still, cool. We talked about this. I'm still not on the Dak train. I'm off the Dak train from now on until I feel otherwise. But if anybody watched last week's game, you would 100% understand. And my green screen just went out, so I guess I'm riding the green all day, all day today. But cool. How you doing? How you feeling about going into this game and the previous Eagles?
Well, I've said all along, man, I want smoke, right? I want the smoke. So this is what I've been drooling over, dreaming about, and fantasizing about. Honestly, this is the matchup I wanted. I want to have. Obviously, truthfully speaking, no matter what happens, there's going to be a built-in excuse if we win. If we lose, there's going to be, haha, they're not as good. So whatever happens, we're still going to be in the same place when this game is over. But for me as a fan, for all my fellow Eagles fans, for all the haters as well, all those who are saying, hey, I'd rather see the Eagles go to the Super Bowl than the 49ers, whatever your reasoning is, we're always going to be doubted. We're always going to be not liked, but we don't care about those things. If anything, they fuel the fire within us, right? San Francisco made a big mistake this week. I know you just asked me one simple question, but I just have to get this out real quick. San Francisco made a huge mistake this week. They went to the Rocky flag and they desecrated it with 49ers trash. You apparently don't realize what happened the last time somebody decided to go to the Rocky statue and put their colors on the Rocky statue. You might want to check history before you start doing things. But again, we appreciate any extra motivation that you're willing to give. Thank you.
Yeah. Bulletin board material, like they say.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sam, how you feeling?
Like Cool said, I personally think that they went out of their way to make this more of a contentious matchup than it really needed to be. I mean, they're out there basically posting this bulletin board material, like you just said. And, not only did they desecrate the Rocky flag, like you said, and they also, I've been seeing tons of posts calling Brock Purdy Brocky. And let's be honest, that's a play on something Philadelphia has laid claim to for forever. So at this point, you're kind of poking fun at Philadelphia, and I don't think that's a smart decision by any team, quite honestly, because we don't need any extra motivation to beat you. We've already, shown that we're gonna bring our A game week in, week out.
Yeah. You don't need that at all. Shout out to Wise. He's at Podfest, I believe. If you're still there, Wise, let us know. Appreciate you. He came in. He's the Giants fan. The Giants did exit last week, but shout out to them on a unpredicted season. I don't know a lot of people that predicted them to go as far as they did. So, big shout out to Wise. Now, Eagles playing the 49ers. 49ers will be traveling to Philly, which to me would be even more reason why you don't want to talk a lot of trash. because you're gonna have to go at the link, and that's not a pretty place to play against, especially after, like you guys have been saying, you've been talking so much trash. So I wanted to ask both of you guys, what do you think about this Eagles team compared to the team that was on a run a few years ago with Carson Wentz? Nick Foles took over. But what do you guys think? How do you compare those two teams as we get this matchup tomorrow? Sam, I'll go to you first.
Personally, I think it's amazing to see how much this team truly has changed in 5 years' time. And yet here we are right back where we were 5 years ago with a different quarterback, a different head coach, a different coordinators. Like the entire coaching staff and most of the roster is completely different. We still have key leaders, with Fletcher Cox and guys like that, Brandon Graham on the roster, which obviously are incredibly important to, continuing that winning atmosphere. But to see this success in Philadelphia is something that I was just talking actually earlier about, that it's kind of unprecedented in my lifetime. In my lifetime, I've watched us go to 3 Super Bowls and, 2 Super Bowls, and this would be the third one. And, the last 2 of those have been in the last 5 years. So that's an amazing feat. So, that can't be oversold. And how often do you see that happen with one team with 2 different coaches and 2 different quarterbacks? So I think that's something that not a lot of people are talking about. In Philadelphia, it's win or bust, and here we are again, at the top of the ladder. And I think this might be our time.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about teams and you talk about their the progression that they've made, and to be able to come back to this point in a conference championship game, that speaks a lot about the organization as a whole. Because, like you said, you got a different coach. You got different personnel, really, when it comes to the QB. So, I mean, I think that speaks volumes. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys are a better run team. I hate to say this, than the Cowboys are. When the last time the Cowboys went to the championship game, we all know it's been ages. Kids haven't been born since the last time. So, I mean, it goes to show you what the Eagles have done. But cool.
This is definitely a much different team. I think we're much more skilled in the secondary, much more skilled at wide receiver, not quite as strong at running back. Tight end, actually, I think it's pretty. Actually, I think that's a little bit stronger as well because we have Stoll and Calcaterra that help out as well and can make catches and got a lot of playing time when Goddard was hurt. It feels, I get the same vibes, right? But it's definitely a different group. It's more talented, but we're playing more talented teams. I think in this 5 years, we've seen a lot of teams have put together a lot more talent, i.e. the team that we're facing tomorrow in the San Francisco 49ers. The team has a lot of talent as well. So I'm excited for what we have. I think we had a little bit more of a consistent winning streak on the 17 team. But I think the biggest hurdle for me, and I may be giving the bullet board material to whoever comes out of the AFC, but the biggest struggle for me to win another championship is tomorrow.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. These 49ers on their third string quarterback in Brock Purdy. He's been coached up. I mean, let's give a shout out to Shanahan.
Oh, yeah.
What he's been able to do. He's been coached up. But what's the game plan for you guys tomorrow going into tomorrow's game with Brock Purdy at quarterback? Cool.
So I'm going to take the defense and I'll let Sam take the offense. So that way we'll both have something to talk about, right? So defensively, what we're going to have to do is obviously pressure. We want to put a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy with our front four and Hassan Reddick. So we don't want to have to sacrifice the defensive backfield, the other things we like to do, the formations. But we want to put a lot of pressure on Purdy. We want him to see people by him. We want to hit him when we have the opportunity to. I think another thing you want to do is you want to show him one thing and then you want to do something different. So you want him to make his pre-snap read as a guy who hasn't started a lot of NFL games, thinking that this is going to be the defense. but then it's actually a different defense. You want to try to bait him into making throws to specific areas. Um, you want to cover well, um, hoping that this 5 yard soft zone crap we've been doing all year stops now, and we actually get up on these guys and play some man. We have all of our pieces back defensively. So now we're going to be able to play over the top when we do play man. I don't like the zones as much because I don't like the handing the guys off, especially with as much talent as San Francisco has at wide receiver and tight end and out of the backfield catching the ball. Well, we do have that luxury of having Avante Mattis back now, having Chauncey Gardner-Johnson now playing safety, but he plays like a corner. So, when you have that chess piece that they're going to try to do, whether they're going to have like a running back flank out wide, probably McCaffrey, we can cover those things because of the personnel that we're going to have on the field in our base personnel. Also, stop the plays. I love the interceptions. I want the turnovers, but make sure that we're tackling guys. Make sure that we're hitting them hard, fast, and getting them down. If you have a chance to make a turnover, make the play. Disrupt their routes. Be as physical as you can. Don't get flags, and just be aggressive. Make Brock Purdy be the reason that we win the game. Be disciplined in your gaps. Do not allow them to get the run going off unless it's to the outside where you're going to have help. Jordan Davis, Linval Joseph, Robert Quinn, those guys be big in the middle. And Ndamukong Suh, be big in the middle on the run and the pass. Make them have to play the game that you want to be played and make them have to put their game in the hands of Brock Purdy. Don't allow him 5-yard passes that turn into 30-yard passes because he has all these guys that have great yak. That's what I think we need to do defensively.
Okay. All right, Sam.
You hit the nail on the head. Cool, as always. Basically, on offense, my first concern is neutralizing that pass rush. Obviously, we know how dangerous the Bosa brothers are, and how dangerous Bosa, or is it Nick or Joey? I always forget. I apologize.
Nick.
Thank you. So Nick Bosa with the 49ers. I apologize. I should know that. But anyways, Nick Bosa has been one of the most dangerous pass rushers this season. So in order to neutralize that, I'm getting the ball out of Hurts's hand fast. I mean, whether you're doing that with RPO to freeze the pass rush, or you're doing that with screen game that we did against the Giants, or we're running a lot of run pass option and we do what we did against Micah Parsons and just straight up don't block him. There's multiple different ways we can attack this. And I think we will rotate between the different approaches that we've shown this season with the Giants, the Cowboys, neutralizing the better pass rushes. But to say that is also to say that you can't necessarily rely on this as well. You need to take shots deep because the 49ers have holes deep. Their underneath coverage is exactly one of their strengths. And this is something that John Lynch and, the defensive coordinator there, D'Amico Ryans, have done on purpose. They've done it to kind of build towards what teams are going to do versus their pass rush. So there's going to be some holes deep, and we need to exploit those when the opportunities arise. But you also, like I said, you want to get the ball out of Hurts's hand quick and fast and in a hurry more often than not, because you do not want him taking a lot of hits. I don't want to see Minshew entering this game at any point. So that's the big test this game, is keep Bosa out of Hurts's face, keep the ball in the hand of the playmakers, and hopefully we can get the run game going to keep the play action involved as well.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing we learned from last week with the Cowboys is that this 49ers team can definitely be beat. They are not unbeatable. They are not a perfect team. We just couldn't capitalize on it. But I think you guys will be able to do that. There was plenty of opportunities there. Getting in the end zone, I think, is going to be very important for you guys. And I think you could 100% outscore the 49ers. So I think it could come down to that. And if you're obviously able to get the pressure on Purdy, force him to make a mistake and capitalize on the mistake. I think that'll be another thing that the Cowboys failed to do. When you had the ball, you just could not capitalize on a mistake that the 49ers already made. Now, I do have to ask, are you afraid at all of Kittle? If the ball gets into Kittle's hands, are you guys afraid of what he has the ability to do? Cool.
You would be a fool if you're not afraid of George Kittle. He's the most physical tight end in this league. I I think there's only one tight end I would say um, is probably better than him or equal to him, and that would be Travis Kelce.
Yep.
So if you're not understanding that you're going to be challenged by Kittle at times, then yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure. But what you have to do is you have to understand who he is and what he's going to do. He's going to be physical. He's not the fastest, but he has good speed, but he's not the fastest. But he's very aggressive. He doesn't mind taking hits. He's a guy that you're going to have to, again, tackle. You're not going to be able to just bump him down. You're going to have to grab him and drag him down. You're going to have to be ready because he has a great catch radius. He's going to be attacking the ball, a la what A.J. Brown does. And you're just going to have to go and try to rock a couple of those balls out. And you're going to have to get him down as quickly as possible. So you're going to have to dedicate to just basics, tackling, defending, trying to knock balls away from him, making sure that you are covering him correctly. And you're just going to have to go out and make it happen. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to pretend it is going to be easy. But if you want to win this game, it's going to have to be done.
Yeah. And you can't make blind tackles. Trayvon Diggs. Basically just like, oh, did I hit him? No,
Right.
No, you didn't hit him. You weren't anywhere near close. As he's juggling the ball, no, you were nowhere near close. But anyway, I digress. Sam.
Yeah, I mean, Cool said it perfectly. I mean, if you're not scared of George Kittle, you're a fool. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. And in fact, there's very few elite tight ends in the league, truly, and he's one of them. I could count on one hand probably the 5 tight ends that I'm really scared of in the NFL, and George Kittle's probably second on that list, like he said. So, personally, I think that's one of the guys that really creates some matchup issues. We do have a guy like Kaiser White that can kind of match up with him a little bit. We do have CJ Gardner-Johnson, which I expect to see him in coverage on Kittle quite a bit as well. But, no matter what we do, we're most likely shading some coverage, some extra help his way. And that would be my personal opinion. I mean, with Deebo Samuel, I think, Darius Slay can lock him down. I think, James Bradbury has Brandon Ayuk on lock, no problem. So, I would be comfortable double covering Kittle and, allowing our focus to be Kittle's damage that he can do rather than, Ayuk or Samuel.
Yeah. And I think the Cowboys had a pretty good game plan. I mean, they shut down Deebo for the most part. I think he had he had one long carry. They totaled, I think, 40 plus yards, somewhere around there, between 40, less than 50 yards. So the game plan defensively worked. Obviously, go back to the offensive side of things. But I think that'll definitely be key as well. If you're able to shut down the running game for them, I think that causes Brock Purdy to throw the ball more. Eventually he's going to make a mistake. So it didn't happen in the Cowboys game. I think it'll happen this game. He is a rookie. He has not seen all of the defensive looks that coordinator is going to throw at him. So I'm praying with both hands double crossed that the Eagles will be able to you guys will take care of business tomorrow. Now, prediction. If you want to give a prediction, you can give a score. I think I know who you're going to pick that's going to win. So if you want to give a score prediction, Sam.
27-24 is the prediction I've been rolling with. I do think the Eagles ultimately win the game. I don't think it's going to be a game that we pull away from them at any point. I personally think it's going to be a close battle to the end, and it's probably going to be whoever makes the least mistakes or holds the ball last that ultimately ends up winning.
All right, cool.
I'm actually going 28-24, so just a 1-point difference. It's simple, man. We've got to outscore them. We've got to get a turnover, or at least if we can't force a turnover, we have to make sure that we don't commit any turnovers. If we can keep the turnovers even or we're plus, I feel very confident about our chances to win this game. I think we can win it if we do turn the ball over as well, but why chance fate when we can just go out there, play clean, prepare ourselves for what should be the final game of the season, which would be our Super Bowl. It's just a matter of doing out there and doing what we need to do. There's no question that these are two very good teams. There's no question that these are two teams who could both win this game. It's who wants it more. It's who has the most experience at the most important position. I do believe if we look at it, Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts is not going to go out I'm sorry to bring this back up, being and throw a bunch of interceptions. He's not going to turn the ball over a lot, right?
Yeah.
So if he cannot do that, just use your legs when needed. Get down, get out of bounds. Nothing extra. Just get what you need. Get down. If he can at least be the threat to run, where you have to commit a spy to him, at least in certain situations, it takes another guy off of playing defense that has to watch Jalen Hurts and his movements. Any small things that we can do to get any type of edge, I just hope we're able to do them. They've given us a lot of motivation. We've said some things too, of course. We haven't just sit around and been quiet. Let's not pretend that either. But they've given us a lot of motivations. Their fans have done some ignorant things. So thank you guys for that. The media never believes in us. So I hope that continues, because we've always played the best when we've not been believed in. I don't think that even if we do win, we're going to be favored no matter who comes out of the AFC. But at the end of the day, man, that's another game for another day. Right now, we need to beat these 49ers.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me give a shout out to my man CJ. Thank you for tuning in. CJ's carving out a little niche for him on YouTube. We were doing some reaction videos, specifically Cowboys reaction videos. So can only imagine what he's doing to his jersey. He didn't break a TV or anything, but he was frustrated. So make sure you follow him, subscribe on YouTube. I'll put in the chat 49ers or Eagles. So those that are tuning in, let us know who you are picking. Before we go to the other side, the AFC, two teams, their seasons are over. We kind of talked about the Giants, but Sam, I wanted you to give your thoughts on the Cowboys. Cool kind of did that last week. Give me your thoughts on the Cowboys season as a whole, and what do you see us going in this offseason?
So my big question here is, how do you view Mike McCarthy? So is Mike McCarthy your long-term head coach, or do you still have questions about his performance as a head coach to this point? Because if you do have questions about his performance up to this point, and you do not feel that he and the combination of Dak Prescott will ever win you a Super Bowl, it's time to move on from Mike McCarthy. I personally do not believe that Dak Prescott is necessarily the bulk of your issues. I think a lot of it has been play calling and the positions that he's been put in. And, he's not helping himself with the decisions he's making. But I personally think you can survive with Dak, and you can win a Super Bowl with Dak with the right coaching staff and with the right play calling and putting him in a good position to succeed. If you rely on the run game like you should have been all season long, and you're back and forth between Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott, we all know that offense is going to be a lot more successful, because let's be honest, you're not putting Dak in 3rd and long more often than not and asking him to kind of carry the team. So I personally think that, if you got a guy like Sean Payton, perhaps there as your head coach, maybe things change a little bit. I'm not necessarily saying Sean Payton is the guy. I'm just saying that there, in my mind, are a lot better head coaches and a lot better fits for what the Cowboys have going on and the personnel that they have on the roster. I've never been a fan of McCarthy, and I personally think he's only reiterated my previous thoughts on him with Dallas.
And at the end of the day, he's a retread coach. He's a coach that's been in the league. He's a coach he's gone to a Super Bowl and won. That was a long time ago. But the Cowboys got sucked into Mike McCarthy when he did that barn promo, when he was studying the film in a barn, and Jerry just got mesmerized. He was like, wow, the guy studies film in a barn. Okay, let me pick up the phone and call him. I think they got sucked into. He won a Super Bowl with the Packers. I think he just got enamored. And the problem with the Cowboys is that they do not like change. I've said this numerous times. So McCarthy's probably going to be here. For how long, I don't know. I would like for them to make an attempt at Sean Payton, but I do think Sean Payton's going to want more than what the Cowboys are willing to give, and I think that comes in control and picks. I think you do have a lot in place that if you have the right coach, things could be different. I agree with CJ Kellamore. He sucks. I think he's had some bright moments, but I don't think he's the boy wonder that everyone, when I say everyone, the Cowboys organization has made him out to be. If he was so much of a boy wonder, he would have got the job in Carolina, and he didn't. So I think that tells you something, that even though he's going to interviews every single week, I mean every off season, that doesn't mean that he's as great as what people put him as. So let me see. We got some comments here I'm going to get to. CJ says, I need the 49ers to win. What do you mean you need? You must got a bet.
Hey, if you decide to make a bet on the 49ers, that's on you. That's you that has some extra money to give away.
That's A-Trap, Brian D. Williams in the building. Thank you for tuning in. Ezekiel Elliott is out of there. I think at this point, you guys want to chime in. I think you have to cut bait at this point. He is only a short yardage back and a goal line back. You don't necessarily need that. I think he is a good run blocker, but unless he takes the biggest pay cut on earth, I don't see any reason why you bring back Zeke.
I have heard he's willing to take a pay cut to return to Dallas. So,
yeah.
I mean, if he's willing to take a massive pay cut, hell yeah, keep him in Dallas as the backup to Tony Pollard. But that's where he belongs, as the backup to Tony Pollard.
Don't expect a lot. Don't expect 100-yard games. Those days are over with.
Yeah, you definitely. I think he realizes that this is his only chance, really, right? No one's going to go out and pay Zeke. So you might as well take the pay cut and stay where you're at, get you a couple of more years in, and make some things try to make some things happen there as that big bag in certain situations. He's never going to be who he was. We kind of knew this was coming. When the contract was signed, as an Eagles fan, I was just kind of like laughing, because I knew it was going to come to this. But yeah, that's pretty much all you can do, man.
Yeah. CJ said he's got a parlay on the 49ers.
Hey, I'm glad you opened that.
You should have called us first, CJ. You should have called
money,
us,
CJ.
Man.
That's all I got to tell you, brother.
Oh man. He said, "Who called that play? The very final play where Zeke was that effing center." That was almost like that play. I think the Colts did it where they had nobody on the line, and they had, what was that, McAfee or somebody? I don't know what. That's almost what that play. Yeah, that's almost what that play looked like. Kellen Moore should get fired just for that reason alone. I don't know. I think they're obviously having their conversations, or maybe they had them this week. They haven't said anything. But if the Cowboys run it back with the same exact staff, the same exact thing's going to happen. We're going to be, who knows, we may win 12 games, but you're going to be out in the first game. I just don't see anything else happening. We'll also be reacting and covering tomorrow as well. All right, cool. CJ, make sure to subscribe there. He's been out coached in every playoff but one. I think he's talking about
McCarthy.
Yeah.
So, Ben, I got a question for you. I asked it the other day when you were on Snowman in the Morning, but I don't know if they ever actually asked it out loud. But I'm curious, do you think Dallas is maybe waiting to let go of, a guy like Kellen Moore because they're hoping that he gets a head coaching position and then they don't have to do the dirty work of firing him?
You could be right. If you rewind back to the Garrett situation, I don't know if you guys heard about everything that went on, but he was basically, the day after the season, he was in the building, assuming begging for his job. They hey, just stick around. We're going to think about it. So to your point, yes, I do think they don't want to do the dirty work. I think they want to keep it as status quo. And I think Jerry wants to be the guy to say, Kellen Moore was with the Cowboys. And look at Kellen Moore now. He's over here doing this. And again, they're afraid of change too. So yeah, I think there's a lot of excuses that are there. And this team is full of excuses. If you guys heard the audio from the guy, he's on the NFL show on in the mornings on what's it called on NFL Network. But the guy said he was responding to Dak's comments, and he said it's completely acceptable because you do the same thing every year, so it's 100% acceptable. So, roundabout way to answer your question, I think yes, they are trying to figure out a way to not have to fire him. And I think the other part of this is Dak is going to be here for the next 2 years, whether Cowboys fans like it or not. He has a massive contract that with that performance, nobody's going to take on. So it's either him or Kellen Moore, and then he's not going anywhere. So to me, I think the logical reason would be to logical thing would be to let Kellen Moore go, bring someone else in, and see if it's different. Now, if it's not different, then you know that the problem is Dak, and there's no there, to me there would be no question. I think it's at 50% now. It is half on Dak, but until you get another play caller in here, I think you can't fully judge Dak. I think that would be the fair thing to do, logical thing to do. But that's what I have to say there. I'm a Cowboys fan, but we're honestly not gonna go nowhere with the Joneses. Well, none of them are going. If Jerry goes somewhere, Steven's there. He's got Jerry Jr. He's got his grandson, which he's gonna probably groom him up into the organization. We need Jerry Jones to relinquish ownership and let somebody else coach the team, but we know that's not going to happen. CJ, that's not going to happen. As a Cowboys fan, who would you like as the coach? Sean Payton. I think he's that offensive mind that he has, I think would be great for Dak. And I think that's who I would want as the coach. And I'm willing to give up 2 picks. I'm willing to give up whatever type of control the Joneses have that has not obviously worked. I'm willing to give that up to give Sean Payton a chance. So that's who I would want. At the end of the day, Dak at best is an above average quarterback. I agree. I agree with you there. All right, so Cowboys off season. Obviously be a lot of storylines coming up. No surprise there. If you the Giants, I don't know, Sam, if you got an opportunity to give your thoughts on the Giants with their season over now as well.
I don't believe so. So my thought on the Giants is after the performance this season, you have to see more out of Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. So I'm not saying that you go out and you sign Daniel Jones to a huge contract or anything like that, but you do give him an extension. You give him an incentive-laden deal. You make it very clear that, hey, if you play up to your potential, you're going to be here for the long term. If you don't, you will be cut and you'll be looking for a backup job somewhere else because we're not going to keep you around. Because I think Daniel Jones has flashed at times this season and he's shown that he has some traits that you want in a franchise quarterback. But I ultimately think that there's still a lot of questions about the way that he plays the game and if he can really step up and take over a game when called upon. And then Saquon, how can you not try and return or get him to come back? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, he dominated this season. He showed he can stay healthy for the most part. So I think that they really know that Saquon is their offense. Maybe you need to get in some depth in there behind him that you can count on, similar to like a Alexander Madison situation with the Vikings and Dalvin Cook. But with that being said, other than that, I think you have to try and give these guys a couple more years to see what they can ultimately become.
Yeah.
I just want to say to CJ, Amari Cooper told y'all before this season who Dak was. He's black Kirk Cousins.
Yep. To Kurt, 2 chains cousin. He is similar to Romo, and his record, funny enough, is almost similar to what Romo's record was. He does have more of the ability to run. I don't think he throws a lot of passes like Romo, not necessarily a gunslinger like Romo, but the record-wise, they are similar. I want Troy Aikman to coach. I don't care if he's a commentator. I don't think Troy would want to do it, man. Troy's expectations would probably be even higher than the Joneses' expectations.
And Troy's had a lot of CTE type situations going on in his career. He may not want to be a guy that wants to deal with that just on a daily basis, that grind. But there is another guy who would be good as like a quarterback coach or an OC for you. That's Tony Romo, because he seems to know his X's and O's very well.
Maybe.
Wouldn't that just be Dallas to hire Tony Romo as a head coach or something like that? Yeah, that'd be like their version of Saturday.
Coach, but like a QB coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be a great job for him.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, how quick would his progression be if it was under Mike McCarthy? He gets hired as a quarterback coach this season. Next season, he takes over for Moore. Season after that, he's taking over for McCarthy.
Well, I will say this though. Remember, Dan Quinn decided to stay, so I think Jerry and Dan got a little bit of a.
There's something
know,
going on there.
You scratch
Let's
my back, I'll scratch your back.
Yeah,
You stay
yeah,
another year of this.
yeah.
I personally agree. I think that's like his backup plan if McCarthy's not the guy long term. Because I mean, why else do you stay there? Quite honestly, he's had 2 seasons where he's been interviewed by multiple teams.
Well, Sam, he said that he hasn't finished his business there.
Yeah. When I seen that, when he was interviewing at all these places, to me, it was like it's just going to be a matter of time before he leaves. I mean, his stock has only risen from last year. He had interviews last year, and it's almost doubled this year. So yeah, there's something going on. Either he didn't like the situations, or yeah, Jerry's like, hey, Michelin Man's not going to be here that much longer. We'll give you the keys in a minute. But hey, I'm all for it. If he wants to stay, the defense has been gone leaps and bounds from Nolan to him. So if he wants to stay, I'm fine with that. I'm 100% down with it. A-Trap says Marvin Lewis as OC, maybe as head coach. No, I wouldn't put him as head coach, but he is an offensive mind that can possibly do something. But I don't think he's coming back into coaching, at least in the NFL. That is.
I wouldn't if I was him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say head coach, but I would say potentially OC. But I think the thing with the way the NFL is now, and specifically with the Cowboys, you need a fresh mindset.
Yeah.
You don't need an old coach
Very
to
true.
come in here and say, hey, this is how we used to do it in the 30s. We don't need old man Joe to come in here and try to teach Dak new tricks. I think we need a young offensive mind. Kellen Moore obviously was not it. We tried it. We've given it enough time. It has not equaled to the most successful Dak consistently. There's been obviously peaks and valleys with this entire, with this relationship. But one of the people in Dallas on the radio mentioned that they're almost like friends more than it is a coach, player relationship, because they were in the same position room. They really kind of came up in the game. So I honestly think that could be a real fact. And I think Kellen Moore is just not as creative. Really, he's not that boy wonder that people make him out to be. And I think that's the part that the Cowboys really need to realize. Because if he was that great, he would have gotten a head coaching job last year or this year. Chris Jones says 49ers all day over here. Bang, bang, Niner gang. We need to take a chance on one of these young college coaches, but we've never seemed to do it. Yeah, we don't, because I don't know why. All right, let's change gears over to the AFC. Bengals at Chiefs. I think right out the gate, I think this is going to be a great game. I think this is a great matchup. But right now, obviously the Bengals were not a fluke. So shout out to him and also the coaching staff there, to Joe Burrow and the coaching staff. I do think the Chiefs are going to squeak it out, though. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be ready this game. I think they're obviously, with it being a home game, that is going to be an advantage. And I think they have the upside. I think it's going to come down to obviously which quarterback's going to play better, which quarterback's going to make that mistake. I think that's what what the game's going to come down to. But I got Chiefs. Got Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl. I think that's what's going to happen. And cool, I'll go to you first.
I actually have exactly the same as you, sir. I think when you look at the depth that Kansas City has at wide receiver, think about guys like Juju, Justin Watson, MVS, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, McCole Hardman, right? It's a lot of different guys. So he's not going to really be locked on wide receiver wise to one guy. Now, obviously, we know the number one playmaker on this team and the number two playmaker are not actually wide receivers. Your number one playmaker is Travis Kelce, right? Heck, Noah Gray might be as good as and not better than the Bengals tight end. And then, Jerick McKinnon is the big play guy. So, Isaiah Pacheco, he's come on real strong. I do think that you're going to have to worry about the ankle for Mahomes. But the thing is, if you have a stretch of the game where he gets hit or he just gets real tight, you want to get him in the locker room early, maybe ice him down a little bit, retape him, get him another shot so he can finish the game. Chad Henne's a fine backup in this offense. Chad Henne's make plays and help this team win before. So it's not a situation where, if Mahomes needs to leave for a few plays or he aggravates it and he needs to sit out for a little bit, that you now fall off of a deep end. Chad Henne's really found a niche here as the backup quarterback. Then you look at the Chiefs defense, and we'll talk about the Chiefs defense a lot. It's not great, but it's got some names and some guys who really can get things in. George, I mess this name up every time, but I'm going to try it. Karlaftis, maybe close. I don't know.
Karlaftis,
yeah. He's been playing well. Chris Jones, that's a name you never want to forget. Frank Clark, these are guys who play well. Carlos Dunlap is Frank Clark's backup, for heaven's sakes. You look at Willie Gay at linebacker. You look at Jalen Watson at corner. You look at Trent McDuffie at corner. Nickel corner is L'Jarius Sneed. So there's talent on this defense. Justin Reed is a strong safety, right? So it's not guys that you necessarily say like, oh, man, that's the best guy at these positions. But these are a lot of solid quality individuals. If they go out and play as a team, they're going to be good. And the thing is, Cincinnati's line has been troublesome. We talk about giving teams motivation, and people can make the argument about Cincinnati and everything that happened. But there's one thing we don't want to forget. The fans and some of the team has been running around talking about Burrowhead Stadium because they own the Chiefs. I don't understand what world we live in where you think you're going to go out and pop this kind of talk and there's not going to be repercussions. Do you really want to go out and give a team like Kansas City even more motivation at home to beat you? And of course, the Bengals have one of the biggest trash talkers via social media in the league, but he's really Nnamdi Asomugha 2.0 when you get him on the field, and that's Eli Apple.
Yeah. He's talking mad trash. Like, bro, you are not a lockdown corner, bro. Be quiet.
The one reason I'd like to see the Bengals win is just so he can get dusted, decimated, destroyed, and torched by us in 2 weeks.
CJ 49, you got the 49ers and the Bengals. That's a interesting bet right there. Now, if any conspiracy theorists out there, the NFL would love to have a throwback Super Bowl matchup, 49ers and Bengals. But I just don't see that happening. I don't see either one of those teams winning. But if they do, CJ, you would be up pretty big. All right. Before I go to you, Sam, A-Trap said Leftwich. As OC, yes, I think he would honestly be great for Dak. I think he would be he has the experience. He's coached one of the best. And obviously, I think he can share a lot of insight. So I think that would be great. If the Cowboys obviously would be willing to do that, I don't think that they would, but I think Leftwich would definitely be great. Go ahead, Sam.
Leftwich would be an interesting hire. I've got kind of an outside the box thought for you guys in terms of somebody to look at for head coach and possibly even like offensive coordinator. But how about you go visit a guy, say Dan Mullen, Dak's college coach? Just a thought there. They had a good relationship back in college. He's a big reason why Dak was drafted in the NFL in the first place. So maybe you bring him back and you play on that relationship to kind of build an offense specifically around Dak's strengths, which in my personal opinion hasn't necessarily been done yet. So I think that would be a good way to go about it, but it'd be kind of an off the wall hire. And Mullen was, let go in Florida in 2021, hasn't coached since. So he is available, maybe that's a guy you visit, like I said, for offensive coordinator rather than a head coaching position. But that's just a thought. As far as the Bengals and Chiefs, I personally am also picking the Chiefs as well. I think the storylines with the Reed versus the Eagles, the Kelsey Bowl, there's so many different reasons why this game would be amazing to watch live. So I personally hope that's what happens. I think that Chad Henne, went out and proved to the world that he can run this offense with great success. What was it, a 98-yard drive last week? And that ultimately he came in, he drove the Chiefs down the field, scored a touchdown, and then Mahomes came back and entered the game. But without that drive, do they win the game? Probably not. So Henne's already proven that he can succeed at this level in multiple situations. So I personally think that, like Cool said, I'm not necessarily overwhelmingly concerned if Henne has to enter the game. What I am concerned about is, the extra motivation that these teams are giving the opposing team. Like, why are you doing that to yourself? That's foolish. It's a playoff game in general. You don't need to give them any extra motivation. They're already going to give you their air game no matter what. And now you're giving Patrick Mahomes every reason to play hurt if he thinks he can go, So if it's me personally, I fully expect the Chiefs to come out feeling a little hurt that the Bengals fans were talking so much trash this week.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those things that, again, is going to be put up on the bulletin board. Like, look, these people talking trash about you guys. What do you think about that? How are you going to show it to them on the field? So, and Joe Shiesty, like CJ put in here. Yeah, man, he's definitely got some swag to him. But I think he will not prevail tomorrow. I got the Chiefs winning it. Now, if Mahomes' ankle ends up causing him an issue, I think that could possibly flip things. But it says he's good to go. There's no doubt in my mind he's not going to play tomorrow.
Right.
So looking forward to the matchup. So it sounds like that is the Super Bowl prediction of the NFC Beast cast for tonight. Eagles versus Chiefs. Give us your prediction. How do you feel? What are you thinking? But it's going to be two great games tomorrow. I think it came down to the best four teams. That's a cliche, comment, but I definitely think it came down to the best teams. Eagles been the best team, people believing it or not, the entire year. Chiefs have been one of the best teams. Bengals obviously have gone on a run, and they are not a fluke. So, but we wanted to get to one other question before we end the show. And like I said, put your Super Bowl prediction in the chat. And this was by Sam. Does the involvement of analytics produce more exciting football? Which I think is a really good question, with analytics becoming not just in football, but in every sport. It's becoming a lot of coaches go to. Like they will go to the analytics team before they'll go to a football guy. So, Sam, since you posed the question, give us your thoughts on this question.
So this is actually posed because of a podcast I was listening to with I forget the name of it. I believe it was actually a radio station interview with a couple different guys, and they actually posed that. And now that I think about it, and the more I've thought about it over the past couple days since I've heard that, it makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, analytics are what's prompting coaches to go for it on fourth down more than ever before, and you basically shoo off the punt team, which was never going to happen with old school coaches and the coaches the way they thought before. Field position was everything, but now we have the numbers behind the decisions that you're making. Does that 10 yards of field position on the opposite end necessarily matter? It might not, in a statistical manner. So they have the numbers to ultimately make more educated decisions. Personally, I think that the best coaches find a good mesh between analytics and actual, common sense coaching. Like, hey, I know how to coach a football team. And I think that's why Kyle Shanahan, for a great example, is a great coach, because he really does introduce analytics into what he does, but at the same time, he doesn't let it overwhelm his decision-making at times either. So I think that's one of the things that we've seen Nick Sirianni, for a great example as well, utilize a lot. We go for two a lot. We go for it on fourth down a lot. So he's very aggressive, and it looks that way, but at the same time, he's aggressive. He's calculated is really what it is. And I think that's one of the things that we're seeing more and more. So I personally think it does produce more exciting football, but it's definitely one of those things that I wanted to pose to you guys and then the fans who are watching and see what they thought.
Yeah. And I think it makes it sometimes unpredictable because we've seen so many times where they're going forward on fourth on their own 30. We're like, well, hold on, is this really a good choice? If they get it, obviously it was a great choice. If they don't get it, then it was a horrible choice. So analytics have a way of putting you in in a good light and a bad. But I do think it does make things unpredictable. But I agree with you, Sam. You don't want to go too far in analytics because then it becomes to be, I think, more robotic. You still need that football mind. You still need that that football guy, that the eye test. You still need those things because obviously that has produced a lot of success, as well. So I think it's a combination of both. But I do think it has produced some exciting games, some things that we probably laughed at, some things on Monday that became a hot topic. So I definitely think it has done that. But cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think analytics are a catch-22. There are times where they work great for you. There are times where, depending on how you use the information that you have, it helps you be, a better coach. It helps you make a better informed decisions. There are also times where you see a guy, you say there's got to be some analytics crap that he's doing. Um,
Right.
and I think that's where you have to, like you said, and I definitely agree with both of you. But like you said, Ben, the thing is you have to know when. You have to understand in certain situations, I am not going to do, I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care if the numbers say it's a 90% chance. In this situation, I'm not doing that. You just kind of have to know, you have to know your personnel, for instance. You have to know um, what information you're using. Are you using league-wide information? Are you using, um, you know, division information, conference information, information from the last 5 years, information from teams that are in the exact position, right? So there's just so many different layers to the analytics as well. So I think as long as you have all the information, you know what information you're seeing and how that translates to your specific play style, your specific players, where you're in the game, the team that you're playing, how good they are in certain positions. It's a lot, but if used properly, I think they can make the games more exciting. I think they can give you that air of unpredictability because you just don't know. But I think you get to the point also with analytics, everybody has access to the information. So if they're pulling the same information, sometimes you can shoot yourself in the foot because they'll know what you're going to do based off what you've done in the past. So I think it is a blend. It's that common sense. It's that I love this part, but also as a common sense individual, I know the last 5 times I've done this. If I do the 6th time, it's probably going to come back to shoot me in my foot. Let me do
Right.
something different.
Right. Right. Good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good point. Anybody else want to chime in on that in the chat? But it's becoming really a big thing. And one particular example here in Texas Rangers, at one point we had Nolan Ryan and we had CJ, not CJ, what's that guy's name? DJ Daniels. Drawing a blank on his first name, but Daniels was more of the analytics guy. Obviously, Nolan was the eye test guy. Now they had a pretty good run with both of them. They ended up going to the World Series multiple times. It didn't work out, but they decided to let go of Nolan and they kept Daniels. And if you look at the track record, they have not been back to the World Series since then. So it goes back to tell you there is a combination of both. You cannot have too much of one and not the other, and vice versa. So I think that's a really good point. CJ said he did a poll, had over 2,000 votes for each team. One of the polls are going with the Eagles, the other one surprisingly going for the Bengals. Al High says Chiefs all day. They just have to run the ball. This is a legacy game for Patrick. Al is a Chiefs fan. A-Trap says, I'm an old man. Get off my lawn. I'm not a fan. Yep. Sometimes some people do feel that way. I feel that way about music a lot lately.
Hey, Brian, I feel that way about the NBA All-Star game.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel that way about music. Every week something new comes out. I'm like, come on, man.
100, 1,000, 1,000,000% agree.
What is
Yeah,
this?
it's interesting these days for sure.
Yeah. But another episode of NFC Beast. We have our Super Bowl prediction. Looking forward to these games. I think we decided we're not going to do a show next week. Really, all we have is the Pro Bowl games, which again, that's another. I'm glad they're not having the Pro Bowl game. You want to make it something fun. I'm cool with that. Maybe bring the kids out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we will be back the week after. We preview the Super Bowl, talk about the runs, for each team. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week. It says the NBA All-Star game. Yeah. It's really become that's not even a pickup game. It's like a warm-up is almost what it is.
And let's not even talk about what they've done to the dunk contest. We're not even going to discuss that because we don't have the time for that.
You don't have the time, yeah. Yeah, the Pro Bowl. I'm glad they went away with it. It was definitely time. But as we close it out, make sure to subscribe to all of our channels. Sam, Shady Sports Network, Cool. We have Eagles Elite, Play Callers. We also have the BS3 Network, and I just started the BS3 Sports YouTube channel. As I'm gonna do this show, and I'm gonna do some sports reactions and some stuff like that. So be on the lookout for that on YouTube. And shout out to our other hosts, Couch Coach. This year, Wise. We also had Livewire came in. Courtney, Nathan. We had an interesting group of guys, all brought their own different perspective.
Yeah.
But Sam, final words.
It's just been a pleasure working with you guys this year. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I knew it was going to be when we started talking about this, but all of you guys are just stand-up guys, and it's been, like I said, a lot of fun. Despite the fact that we've talked about each of our own teams that we're fans of, I don't feel it ever really got very contentious, and I think that's something that speaks to our demeanor as people. And I think this could have gone a much different way had it been 4 to 5 or 6 other people and other channels, so I'm not necessarily throwing anybody under the bus or saying that. It's just, I thought that, we maybe would have had some more heated discussions, but more often than not, I was actually kind of surprised by how often we agreed and we were on the same page with a lot of our thoughts about all the teams, not just our own teams. So it was very interesting. And like I said, lots of fun talking to you guys all year long, and I look forward to it.
Cool. HRF says, may I suggest an award show? It's not a bad idea. We're mainly doing NFC East, so maybe we can do some NFC East awards. I think that would actually be a good idea.
I like it.
I like that. So yeah, we could probably do that. The week of the Super Bowl, because we only got 2 teams really to talk about. So I would say, yeah, we'll definitely throw some ideas around. MVP, Coach of the Year. Yeah, I would say let's do it.
So we're talking specifically for the NFC East?
Specifically for the NFC East. Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Appreciate the idea, A-Trap. We can pretty much just put a poll in the chat, or we can put it on, each other's social medias or whatever. So yeah, I like that idea.
Definitely.
Bronco in the building. Fly Eagles Fly versus Uday. All right, that's interesting matchup there.
I love that logo.
Yeah, really. Let's put that back up there.
What like that. That's the old Denver D, and then the Broncos logo, just their own take on it. I like that a lot. It looks aggressive.
That is.
Very clean too.
Definitely. All right, cool. Final words.
Yeah, man, it's been exciting, man. I'm glad we were able to put this together, get everybody that we did get a solid quality group of people together to make this happen. Enough to where if people weren't able to be on every week, we still had coverage with solid guys who knew what they were talking about, and not just coming on, just to say outrageous and egregious things and then run away and not have anything to back it up. And obviously we haven't always agreed, but I think we've done a really great job of being respectful of the fact that we have other people who really know what they're talking about on here with us, and then understand that everybody doesn't have the same perspective. So very excited about where we can go with this, guys, and hoping that when we come back in 2 weeks, that we're still talking about the Eagles and not the 49ers.
You're right. I hope so too. For real. All right, so we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Everybody in the chat room was buzzing today. Al High, Ward Bronco, H Rap, CJ. Appreciate all of the comments. So you got Chris Jones in the building.
Absolutely.
Ryan Williams.
Yep. Wise, appreciate you. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. Y'all have a good one and good night.